In this video, I'm going to explain how to create job assemblies for a specific estimate. Now, of course, I have Red Rhino opened here, and I created an estimate. Here you can see it's called Salon Estimate, and the description now, just for sake of this video, I show the description is how to create job assemblies. So again, I'm imagining here that I'm estimating a salon. And I created a section. You know, in California, maybe all over the country now, they have salons where you can just go rent a suite. And sometimes those suites have one workstation, and some have two workstations, and some three. Now, the reason I'm explaining that is if I was estimating a job like that, which I have in the past, I would go ahead and create an assembly specific for each suite. And here's how I would get started. Let me show you. When you create an estimate in Red Rhino software, and you're on the view where you can see the sections, you go up here and click on the Assemblies button. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to click on Assemblies. Now you'll see it opens a new window here. At the top, there's two tabs. There's Unit Price Assembly, and it defaults at the Job Assembly. Now I'm going to show you how to build job assemblies. I'm not going to discuss at all Unit Price Assemblies at this time. I'll do that in other videos later. So again, let me explain the purpose of sections. Anytime that you have work that's repetitive, that you have to estimate over and over again, that's a good time to create an assembly. And again, these job assemblies only live in this estimate, okay? Here's another example of a job assembly. Let's say that you're estimating an apartment complex, and they have rooms, I should say apartments that are 1 bedroom, apartments that are 2 bedroom, and apartments that are 3 bedroom. If you go in here and create a job assembly for a 1 bedroom apartment, and for a 2 bedroom apartment, and for a 3 bedroom apartment, and you go input all the materials that are required for each assembly, then all you have to do is go into the estimate and put in the number of units, and Red Rhino will display all the labor and materials for that. Now I hope that I made that clear. Another example is if you're estimating a hotel or a motel. Again, they have different room styles. I would go in and create a job assembly for each different model or room style that they have in the apartments or in the hotels. Now here's another example. Let's say you're estimating an industrial job, and let's say that you have different sizes and types of unistrut trapeze that you have to estimate. So you would go in and create assemblies for different trapeze. Okay, so I hope you're getting my point here. Now in this example, I'm saying that I'm estimating a salon suite set of offices. And again, I'm in the job assemblies here. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new assembly. So I click on the new button, and I type in the name and save it. Now again, I'm imagining if there are 1-station suites and 2-station suites, and I'm creating an assembly for a 1-station suite. I'll click Save. Now you actually go into this assembly and you edit materials, and I should start by saying you make a material list and go put the materials into this assembly. Okay, so I'm creating an assembly now. It's a job assembly inside of an estimate. I'm going to just go leave the video right now and go input some materials just for example. And let me say before I do, I'm going to click Edit Materials. Now, when I do, this looks a lot like creating an estimate, doesn't it? I have exactly the same tools over here that I have for creating an estimate. Now, there's one slight subtle difference here. For some reason, we can't move this line over to read this better, okay? Do what we usually call unsquinch. But we see the product catalog in here. I go find all the materials that I need for this specific assembly and input them. The wizards are available here. I can input using wizards, and of course the assemblies. I click on the assemblies here. I can use the assemblies. So here's good news. You can use our assemblies to help you build your own assemblies. Now in this example, I'm just going to go put a few lights and some receptacles in here and maybe a couple switches. And then I'm going to show you, again, I'm just doing this for purpose of example. If you're doing this for reals, again, you take off all the materials for each of these assemblies and input them. But let me just get going and I'll input some materials. Now I'm just going to say I went and input some quad receptacles, and just so you know, here you can see those quad receptacles that I added. Now there's no spaces or line spaces or dashes between these entries, but right here you can see I added some quads. It's 4 boxes and plaster rings and etc. etc. Here you can see I added some fixture assemblies, just some LED light fixtures right here using assemblies. And here I use the conduit wizard, right, and just input some 1/2" EMT. Now, my purpose for doing this is just for example, but again, if I was doing this for reals, I would go input all the materials into this assembly. Now, I want to explain something else. The next thing that you need to do is to look at it and make sure you agree with the labor that it has. So if I just click, I'll click my save my work, and I'll click back. Now I'm going to go back until I see the labor and material price down here. Now again, this isn't this isn't really completing this assembly, but my purpose is showing you how to use these things. And again, you can use our tools up here, our assemblies or wizards or product catalog, to build your own assemblies. Okay, so I think I made that clear. I'm just going to click back. I'm going to click back again, and it should take me back. There we go. And now I see the actual material price that I have in the estimate. I don't pay any attention to this right now because this could change eventually. But what I do pay attention to is the hours down here, the labor that I have in this assembly. When I'm all done, let's say if I was done with this, I would look at this and ask myself, well, can I wire that one unit in 25.7 hours? You know, 25 hours is basically 3 guys an 8-hour day, or 1 guy 3-man days, right? 3 days, 24 hours. So my point is that you really want to evaluate this. A lot of times when you're doing a lot of repetition, you might decide that you don't need that many hours. Now, one thing that you do different, I just want to explain this clearly, is you actually put a negative amount of hours in here to adjust this figure. Okay? Now, that's how I do it. There's other ways to do it, but that's what I'm going to show you. So let's say that I think that this should be 16 hours instead of 25. Now, I'm going to make it different. I'm going to say I want to deduct 5 hours from this, okay, from this assembly. Now, understand, after you're done inputting this, you look at those hours and make sure you agree with them. If you think it's under, you would add hours. If you think it's under, you would deduct. Now I'm just going to do that real quick to show you an example. I do my deduction at the top on the top line. I'm going to click Edit Material. Now I'm just going to click on line 1 here. I'm going to add a product, and I'm going to put a deduct, just the word deduct, labor, so I know what I've done here. So deduct labor, I guess if I could spell it'd be better. Deduct labor. I'm going to put a quantity of 1 in and a negative 4 hours. And I'm going to put, I said that wrong. This is the price. I'm putting 0 for price, and I'm putting negative 4 hours. So a minus sign, or just a dash, and 4, and save. Oh, and I messed that up. I have to put a negative 1. Here, let me change this thing because I messed it up, did it backwards. Okay, I'm going to put 4 hours here, and I should have made this a negative quantity instead of number of hours. There we go. So I put a dash 1, and I save, and it actually deducts now that 4 hours. Now I'm going to click back 2 more times here. I'm getting kind of lengthy here, but notice how, see, it actually deducted the 4 hours. Again, to do that, you have to put a negative quantity, then the number of hours to make a deduct. Okay, so again, I'm just showing you how, if a lot of times when you estimate these, your crew gets repetitive work, and so what I mean by that is they can do it a lot faster after they've done 1 or 2 or 3 units. So that's how you would do a labor deduct. Now keep in mind that when I transfer this to the estimate, it's going to show that deduct, and that I don't mind that. Now I'm just going to go back and show you what happens now when you create these job assemblies. I'm going to click the back button. I'm going back to the estimate, so I'll click back to estimate. Okay, now I just have one assembly here. I want to show you where that assembly lives now. Again, that assembly, that job assembly only lives in this estimate. So if I go to any other estimate, that job assembly is not there. It's only in this estimate. I'm going to click Edit Takeoff. This is how you input the job assemblies. You go up to the top, you click on the drop down, and you select Job Assemblies. See that? There it is. Okay, so one station, one suite. Let's say that the estimate that I'm doing in the salon suite building that I'm building out electrically, let's say that there's 8 one station suites. So I'll put in a quantity of 8 of these assemblies. Now this is the magic. I'll click the Add button, and it'll populate all the materials for 8 of those assemblies. Get that? I click Save. Now, I'm not showing you this in the recap, but that's what just happened. I went and created one assembly, and when I go to the estimate, then I go to Job Assemblies over here in the drop down. I go to Job Assemblies, and I put in the number of job assemblies that I want. It populates all the labor and materials for all of those assemblies. Okay, now I'm going to show one more thing. I know this video is getting a little lengthy, but I'm going to show one more thing. And that one more thing is a time saver. So I'm going to go, I have to go back to the estimate where the sections are. So I'm going to click back. I'm going back to the assemblies now. Okay. So I click on assemblies. Now where it defaults at, again, job assembly. I see that one station suite here. Now let's imagine that there's also 2 station suites. Okay, there's several of those, so I want to build an assembly for that. Here's what's really cool about these assemblies: you can duplicate them. Okay, you can copy them. So I'm going to open this one station suite. I usually because you can copy these, and I'm going to click this copy button in a minute, because you can copy these, I usually build my smallest assembly first. Like in this case, my example is there's 1 station suites and 2 station suites. Of course, 2 station suites has almost twice as much stuff. And so I can copy this assembly, rename it, and then just add materials to make up for the other suite or the other assembly. So I progress here. I'm going to click copy, and it copies this, and I have to rename it. See that? Copy name. Now I'm just going to name this one 2 station suite. Hope you're following along here, and click Save. Now here we are. I have that first assembly in here. Now all I have to do is click Edit Materials and go add the materials needed for the 2 station suite. I'm just going to do that real quick. I'm just going to shut off the recording and just add some materials here. Like there would be twice as many items maybe in the two station suite. So I'm just going to go change quantities here. Now the fact is I could just go change quantities on each of these line items if I chose. In this case, I'm just going to go add more. Okay, your choice how you want to do that. Now that's enough for my example. My example, I just went in and added more materials. Again, if there's suites, if there's commercial suites for hair salon stations with 1 station or 2 stations, of course, 2 stations has almost twice as much material. The key is actually just going in and doing a material takeoff for each assembly that you need. Now, if you choose to, I just showed you how you can copy them. I'm just going to move back here. We're going to skip the analysis here. I have to refresh this now because I added materials, I think. And then I scroll down and see now there's 33 hours in. Now I have to keep in mind that this deduction is still in here. Maybe I want to remove that, or maybe I want to change it or increase it. Okay. To do that, I would just go and edit this, I would go back to Edit Materials and edit this line item. But keep that in mind when you add a negative to a deduct, I should say, to your estimate. or to your assembly. Now I'm just going to keep going back until I get to back to estimate. Now I'm going to just show you this. I'm going to click edit takeoff. Again, if I go to job assemblies here, see now how I have the one station suite assembly and the two station suite assemblies where I can input the quantity of each. Okay, I hope that helps you understand how to create job assemblies. When you think about, take some time to think about what job assemblies you might need on your projects. You know, when you get proficient at building these, and it doesn't take long to learn how, it really speeds up the process. As opposed to, let's say you're bidding a 45-unit apartment complex, commercial apartment complex. You know, rather than go take off all the materials on the whole floor, all you have to do is create an assembly for like maybe the 1-bedroom apartment model, the 2-bedroom apartment model, and so on. Create an assembly for each, and then when you're done, you'll just go, you'll see your list of assemblies here, and you'll just go put in the quantities of assemblies that are needed for your estimate. Huge time saver. Hope that helps. Call if you need help.